Hey guys, hello and welcome. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time zone you're in. Welcome to WGSN-DB, Golden Solo Network, and Through the Looking Glass with Martha Davis Alexander. Hi, I'm Martha, and I like to take deep dives into subjects, mostly pertaining to divorce and being a kid of divorce, and sometimes just general stuff. Tonight is one of those nights where we're gonna dive deep into self-care. What is self-care? So I'm gonna start off with you with a quote. And the quote is, "It is so important to take time for yourself and find clarity. The most important relationship is the one you have with yourself." That is by Diane von Furstenberg. So here's the thing about that. I love that. I love that quote. The most important relationship you have is with yourself. So we're going to get into that relationship subject of the relationship with yourself, because in my opinion, that's what self-care is about. When I did kind of I like to research. I'm a recovering attorney, so I love to do my research and see what's out there and what's up. And one of the things that I found was a definition of self-care, that self-care is about making your body a happy place to be. Your body and your soul a happy place to be. It's home. It's a happy place to be. What would it take for you to have yourself as a happy place to be? That you get your happiness from within. And what would it mean about self-care if that statement were true for you? Is that self-care was about making yourself a happy place to be. I love that. That means that self-care is more than a bubble bath, because seriously, sometimes I just don't want a bubble bath. It's the other thing about self-care. It's self-care. That means it's individualized. What others may see as this is how you take, this is self-care, this is what it means to be happy, that isn't necessarily your soul's answer to being happy, right? So I'm going to go through some things that are common pitfalls, common things. And I wanted to give you one more definition of, and I have to read it because I didn't memorize it. Self-care is the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness. Of protecting one's own well-being and happiness. I love that. Of protecting one's own well-being and happiness. I love that. So what are the areas that we talk about self-care? Well, they're all areas of our being. So it can be physical, mental well-being, emotional, spiritual, and social. All of those are areas where we pay attention to our own well-being. Tonight, I'm really going to be talking about more of a relationship with self. And that may spread over all of them. I probably, so the physical, y'all know, because those are the ones that are always posted. Take a walk, take a bubble bath, get in nature, sip a hot beverage on and relax, read a book, the taking a break, right? The physical exercise, taking a break. Those are the standard ones. We've recently thrown in yoga and meditation. Those are mind, spirit, and physical. And so let's go into the ones that we don't talk about. How do you make this a happy place to be? How do you make yourself a happy place to be? So there was a time in my life, and I've said this before on this show, there was a time in my life where I contemplated suicide every day. I was not a happy place to be. I just was not. I did not view this as a happy place to be. And there are lots of reasons for that. All of them internal, none of them external. And at one point in about 2013, and I just found a journal from that period of time. I'm not a big journaler, but the times that I have, it's been really beneficial to go back and look at. So I went back, and my mindset at the time was pretty negative. And I in my mind, something sparked me, and I was like, I want to be positive. I want to be, the thoughts weren't put this way, but it was, I want to be in a happy place. I want to be in a happy place. And there have been times in my life where if my best friend talked to me the way I talk to myself, we wouldn't still be friends. And you never would do that, Chris. I know. It's all good. I would fire me as my best friend. And yet that's really what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to love each other. We're supposed to. Let's get rid of supposed to. The idea and the goal to be happy in our space and in ourselves is to be our own best friends, to be our biggest encouragement. That doesn't mean ego. That doesn't mean you're all full of yourself and you think you're all that in a bag of chips. It means to be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, love yourself through your mistakes. You don't have to be perfect. So some of the things that I want to talk about are, what are your internal messages to yourself? What do you say to yourself? So I hear my husband sometimes call himself an idiot, or you're stupid, or whatever he says. And I always say, please don't talk to my husband like that. He's someone that I really care about, and I don't want anyone talking to him that way. And quite frankly, no one should talk to you that way, right? You shouldn't want anyone, particularly yourself, that inner saboteur, that inner critic, fear, whatever you want to name that. It doesn't belong being negative to you. And I learned to say, oh, no. I need to turn that into a positive. How do I turn? I just put something in the wrong place, right? And mess something up. How do I make that positive, as opposed to saying, oh my gosh, Martha, you're a blah, 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 blah. I'd say, well, that is interesting. That was an interesting choice. Perhaps you'd like to try again. Or you are so funny when you're not paying attention to things. Or you tell me, how could you turn something like that into something positive? A bad choice is just a bad choice. It's not the end of the world. The sky is not going to fall. Chicken Little is not correct. For those of you who are too young for Chicken Little, there's a story, I don't know if it's a fairy tale, it's a story about Chicken Little running around. The sky is falling when it's raining. Anyway, the sky is not falling, Chicken Little. It is just a choice. It's just a mistake. So changing that internal dialogue, don't criticize yourself. Find something positive to say. Mistakes that you make are opportunities for growth. And whether you've heard that too often, you haven't heard it enough, or you don't believe it, pretend you do for 21 days. Mistakes are opportunities for growth. I know I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I have kids. I repeat things all the time. Thomas Edison tried over like 10,000 times for the light bulb. 10,000 times, people, for electricity or more. Was it worth it? Heck yes. Gives me air conditioning in the summer, which is really important to me. Also gives me light. gives us a computer, it gives us everything that we have done since then, right, has been built on the premise of electricity. So, well, almost everything, you know what I mean? So that was really huge. If he'd stopped at the 99th time, who knows where we'd be? Would someone have invented it? I hope so. But he kept pushing through, and he paid other people to help him. Amazing story. Michael Jordan has lots of quotes about he misses more than he makes. You hear about all the times he makes it, right? Because those are the big things. But how many shots did he take practicing throughout his life that he missed? So those misses, those failures, if you want to use the word, it's not a word I like to use, but if you want to use those words, are opportunities, their knowledge, their research, their discovery of how not to do it or what didn't work. And if your mind says that to you, if your mind is like, wow, another way that didn't work, great job, let's go on to the next way. Or what can we learn from this? What is the difference in feeling? For me, and I hope you feel the same, when I hear myself say, wow, that didn't work, great try, let's do it again, because I've trained over the last 2 or 3 years, I've trained my brain to be more positive. So started in 13, which is 8 years ago. And I took little steps at a time, being trying to speak positively, trying to be kind, trying not to complain. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I started changing my inner dialogue and what I said to myself and how I presented myself, trying to be positive and happy and high energy, because that's who I wanted to be. That's who I believe I am at my core, and that's what I wanted to show. And I wanted to get out of the habits that I had gained throughout my life. So self-care, talking nicely to yourself, it makes it such a happier place to dwell when you are not beating yourself up all the time. Another one is asking for what you need, right? And I have really had to practice this, asking for what I need, asking, hey, can I do this? Or, hey, can you help me with that? It is not the thought in my head that I had to do everything in order to be successful. I had to do it all by myself. Really didn't work for me. So I really encouraged myself and pushed to learn how to ask for help, to learn how to figure out what I need, what I want. As a child of divorce and as a people pleaser, oftentimes I didn't know what I wanted or what I needed or any of that. And asking for help was really hard. So that is a huge self-care thing for me. Is that mental? Is that emotional? Could be either, right? It could be spiritual. It all depends on how you look at it and what you think about it as to what category you put it in. For me, I'm not sure it matters what category it is. It matters whether it makes this a happy place to be. So if you take anything from this tonight, and I'm not done, but if you take anything from this tonight, I want it to be that self-care is about making yourself a happy place to be. How empowering is that? How amazing is it, or would it be, to have as your home base yourself, your body, your spirit, your mind, your emotions, all of you, a happy place to be? And working towards that and giving yourself that gift. That is self-care. That is self-love. that is giving yourself as much as you give others, right? We all, particularly as women, although there's a lot of men, don't send me angry stuff. There's a lot of men who also are people pleasers and also are nurturers and caregivers. And so for you all, for all of us, you know, we've all heard the story. You can't take care of anyone else until you fill your own cup. Great. Treat yourself the way you treat the best person in your life. Treat yourself the way you treat your best friend. Treat yourself the way you treat that favorite person that you take care of, whether it's your kids, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your best friend, whoever it is, your dog. I don't care. Treat yourself with the same love and respect and honor that you treat that person in your life. It will change that self-care, self-talk, and thoughts. So I have a client who has a lot of negative thoughts that pop in her mind. Her inner saboteur is frequently yakking at her. And I mine did too. You know, I had a lot of negative, you know, people don't like me, or people won't like what I'm saying, or whatever. It's all just words, right? It's based on assumptions I've made. It's based on a story I tell myself, right? Those are all based on something other than the actual facts and the truth of the situation. Knowing that, if you can be aware that the things that you tell yourself, the stories you get into, may not be true. Even if you just give it the possibility, that may not be true. Maybe everybody does like me, or maybe a good percentage of people like me, or maybe people enjoy listening to me on the radio or on this show, or enjoy watching the replays. What does that change? How does that change the way you feel? Does that make yourself a happier place to be than people don't like me and I should just hide? Right? One is very empowering to me. One is very disempowering. I choose the empowering one every day of the week and twice on Sundays. Empower yourself with what you say to yourself, not only in no name calling, right? Other than you are a magnificent goddess, right? You're the queen of your space. We talked about that last week. What can you say to yourself? And what internal messages can you give yourself that make you want to smile, that make you happy? All right. So we've talked about talking to yourself a lot because that's a huge topic for me. We've talked about your thoughts. So the negative thoughts that pop in, how you can turn those into positive thoughts, right? And you can just say, if the thought comes across, people don't like me. And I used to think that a lot. People don't like me. Now I say, everybody loves me. And if they don't, that's okay. I don't need to know about it. There's a difference there. The thought for me is it's equally unknown whether everybody loves me or everybody hates me, right? Equally. Both statements are assumptions that I've made. I might as well make believe and tell myself the story that is the most positive and makes me happy. I am not deluding myself in that. I know not everybody likes me or loves me. And I know not everybody doesn't. That everybody doesn't dislike me, right? I know that. So it's easier to believe that people more often than not are going to like me or love my energy or love my message than it is for me to tell myself the opposite. What can you flip in your mind to be a positive for yourself instead of a negative thought? What story do you need to retell or reframe in your own mind. It is such a powerful thing to do. And by the way, I hope you guys are doing the I am statements from 2 weeks ago. Right? I talked about I am the queen of my space. I hope you guys are doing those I am statements. Those are very important and also a huge part of self-care. All right, another one. Choices. Gosh, you guys get choices. And when you empower yourself to make choices, this is a happier place to be because you have taken control and done those choices. Choices, making your own choices is a huge self-care for me. Another thing that's self-care is setting up boundaries. So I know lots of people who don't have boundaries. And I used to say I don't have boundaries. And I do have personal boundaries that frame whether I'm going to say yes, whether I'm going to say no, frame whether I want to do something or not do something, frame just my general who I want to be, how I want to show up, and where I want to go in life. And those things are, I know, right? I've made those choices. I've done that reflection. I've gotten that clarity that I needed. All of that was self-care about me because it allows me to be positive. It allows me to move forward. It allows me to talk to myself with love and to be in a happy place. I hope this is making sense. This is Martha Davis Alexander. We are on the Going Solo Network. I am a retired attorney, recovering attorney, I like to say. I'm a mediator. I am a certified fearless living coach, and I coach now adult children of divorce, people who are now adults whose parents got divorced. You can reach me at marthadalexander@gmail.com or through the lookingglasswithmartha.com at 805-422-6865. And know that this show is Through the Looking Glass with Martha, and we will be right back. Hi guys, it is Martha Davis Alexander with Through the Looking Glass with Martha, and you are on the Going Solo Network. So we are talking tonight about, or today, whatever time it is for you, about self-care. And so far, what I've talked about is self-care isn't just about physical self-care. It is awesome to pamper ourselves. It is awesome. I love getting my nails done. Well, let's be honest. I love having them done. I love having the nails and the color. I don't actually enjoy the process of getting it done. It's kind of annoying to me. And yet I do it because they give me joy. Does it make this happy? No, It contributes. I enjoy it. I get enjoyment out of it. Without it, I would still be happy. So what are the things that in self-care make you happy being you, being in your body, being who you are, where you are now? What makes you happy? So a couple of words that I would love to have everyone get out of their vocabulary, because they do not make happy place. They don't. They're a little cluttery in our happy. One of them is should. I should do the dishes. That feels like a chore. That feels heavy. I don't like it. And my that does not make this a happy place. Taking should out and saying, if I do the dishes, I will have a clean house. Now, that feeling makes me happier, right? It makes me happy to have a clean house. I like, well, let's be honest, not totally clean, but I do like a relatively clean house. So should is out. I would like you also to remove the word but from your vocabulary. Because when you say, I love you, but, all the brain hears is what you say after the but. It doesn't hear the I love you. So that's also not a happy place. Expectations. Do you feel disappointed? You feel you expect someone to do something, you expect something of yourself, and you don't, and that doesn't get met. Expectations are heavy. They often lead to disappointment. And particularly self-expectations. Man, be kind to yourself, people. Be gentle. Right now, I have a sinus infection. I'm taking antibiotics, which is lovely. Well, it is what it is. It's going to take care of it. And so I'm doing some migraine stuff. So I'm eating a lot of Advil, and that's okay. What I expect out of what I want to get done on a daily basis is I've looked at it and said, that probably I will not be doing that. I'm not feeling that well. I will save my energy for the radio show, and I will do this, this, and this. Right? So having an intention, knowing where you are, being intentional, making choices about where you are, and not saying, I don't care that I'm sick. I am going to do X, Y, and Z just like I planned when I was healthy. That is not self-care. It is not self-care. That is not taking care of who you are and honoring yourself. Self-care, making this happy, making being here happy, and honoring yourself. That is what self-care is about. Honoring who you want to be and how you want to show up. For me, that is what self-care is all about. When I'm positive with myself, when I get rid of language based upon should or obligation or need to or any of those, that language, when I get rid of those, I am honoring myself, because I am not putting on myself expectations and obligations that are heavy. I am setting what I want to do based upon where I know I am. Now, I also don't make excuses. If I don't do something well, I don't make excuses about it. I say, wow, I could have done a lot better than that. I'm on the radio. Thank you. Oh, that was my son. So here's self-care, taking care of yourself, setting, right now I'm thinking setting boundaries. But having obligations off your plate, Not that you don't do things that are on your plate that are obligations that you don't want to do, because of course you're going to. But don't make things that don't need to be obligations or heavy. And make those that are taking care of a parent, taking care of a kid, dealing with a kid's issue, making those an opportunity to learn something, or an opportunity to, I don't know, practice patience, practice love, practice whatever it is, or to step out and really show yourself that you can do something else. You can stretch beyond your comfort zone. That's self-care. That's taking care of you. Sorry, I got a little off track when I had that. Kindness, being kind to yourself and others. Forgiveness. All right, so this is the big one, and this is the last one I'm going to talk about. Forgiveness is the biggest self-care you can ever do. I talked to a friend recently, and she had some big forgiveness stuff sticking. And it was a hard thing. There's no question it was a hard thing. And it had her completely stuck in one place. I mean, it was just stuck. And until she could take care of that need that her emotions, her spirit needed to move past that moment in time, she wasn't in a happy place. That was literally the most important self-care thing on her list to do. Taking a bubble bath would not have handled that. Taking a walk didn't handle that. Doing things that are physical, right, like exercise, didn't handle that. She couldn't get there other than by addressing that forgiveness. So forgiveness of yourself. I recently went through that this week as well. I had, evidently, I didn't know this, but evidently as kids, we make a contract with an adult in our life. It's implicit. It's not explicit. So it's internal, right? About money. And I had one that I had no awareness of. It was with my grandmother. And it came to me instantly. I knew when my coach was talking about it, I knew I knew who it was, because she said, tell me, who is it? And that's the first person that came to my mind. And the contract wasn't something my grandmother would have explicitly ever taught me. It's not something she would have wanted me to believe. And it's what, as a kid, in a kid's view, I took as what money meant. And I needed to get rid of that. I needed to get rid of that so that I could make way for money. And it was an amazing exercise to realize that I needed to forgive myself for making that contract as a kid. And that was an easy forgiveness for me. I mean, heavens to Murgatroyd, I didn't know what I was. I mean, I was a kid. It's okay. We all make mistakes, and I can move past it. Forgiveness of self. Forgiveness of choices we've made. And that's part of turning it into a positive, right? Making sure that we are looking at it with love for ourselves. Self-care is about loving and honoring yourself and what you need and want. Physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and socially. What are the things that you want and need? What energizes your soul? What gives you energy to carry on? For me, doing this radio show gives me lots of energy. I love doing it. I have fun. I would love a live audience behind it so that I could interact a little bit. I love this. I love talking to clients. I love social interaction. I get my energy from people. I get from being with people. I jazz up. I thrive. For my daughter, who's an introvert, she gets her energy from her alone time. She needs time alone, and that's where she rejuvenates. And we all need to know what rejuvenates us, what makes us go. Nature rejuvenates me too. I mean, there's a lot of things that I can do. Dancing to my favorite song, singing when nobody's around. There are so many things you can do for self-care. I want to invite you to make the most important one this week. This week. Are you ready? Because I'm really looking in your eyes now because I have my glasses on. This week, the most important self-care I want you all to look into is how you talk to yourself and making this yourself the happy place, a place where there's no negative talk, where you're encouraged. It's like being with your best friend. You're encouraged, you're loved, you're nurtured. And you do that through positive self-talk, ditching the negative, having set forth what you want. What are your intentions? What is it you want? And by the way, I got the intentions from Rhonda Britton, just so that's out there. Setting intentions instead of expectations. It's huge, because then you're not disappointed. You know what you anticipate. Making your own choices, choosing what you want, what you need, having some clarity around yourself and your boundaries and where you want to go, how you want to show up. That's all the mental, emotional, some spiritual, right? That's the self-care that we were talking about tonight. The stuff that makes it happy to be in your head. How do you make your head a happy place? How do you do that? I would love your comments. I would love your emails. I would love to hear what you think. And if you want to have a discussion about it, give me a buzz. Maybe you and I can have a discussion on air. My name is Martha Davis Alexander. I am a certified coach, life coach, and I'm a business coach. This is Through the Looking Glass with Martha. And my address, my email is marthadalexander@gmail.com. You can reach me at 805-422-6865. And my website is throughthelookingglasswithmartha.com. Self-care, self-love, feeling yourself, treating yourself like your own best friend. That's what self-care is. You can also take a bubble bath and get a Starbucks if you want. But remember, the most important relationship you have is with yourself. Make that the best relationship it can possibly be. I wish you all a good evening and a good night. Till next week.